Hey, this is Mike Goldberg, the voice of Bellator MMA. Join us right now for MMA FanCast.
I'm just a violent individual. Jim, you did a great job with that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
You're listening to MMA FanCast. Here are your hosts, Jim Mooney and Luke Payson.
Welcome to MMA FanCast. I, today, Luke, am joined by Chase Boyde, who is one half of the first ever 247 amateur championship fight. He will be fighting Cody Reese later this week at 247 Fighting Championships, November 16th at Princescape Arena for the 170-pound welterweight belt. Chase, welcome to the program.
Hi, how you doing, man?
Hey, it's so great having you on. This is obviously fight week, so first off, before we get into the fun of the fight that's coming up, how are you feeling fight week? We are just a couple days away from weigh-in. How's that going? You got to hit 170. How are you feeling fight week?
Feel amazing, man. This camp, I kept my weight under good. I cut more fat than I did water, so I feel really hydrated. I'm feeling really strong, too. A lot of people I've been rolling with have been saying that I feel that I'm, like, really heavy still, so I feel real confident about that. And I have a lot of energy, so.
Well, that's wonderful. And you're talking about rolling, and so jump into where do you train and how long have you been training there as far as your experience goes?
I train at Armezzani Jiu Jitsu in Monaca, PA, under Professor Lou Armezzani. He's a first-degree black belt under Tony Passos. I've been training here for a year now. I am a second-degree blue belt under him. Pretty much it. Yeah, I've been doing Muay Thai now with Anthony Darnell too. We have Muay Thai here. Anthony Darnell, he's a black Fajad in Muay Thai under Arjan Chai. I've been training with him for a year now, so I love it every day. That's incredible. And you are 4-0, which is wonderful. You actually are 4-0 with a no contest, so you technically at least trained or got ready to fight for 5 fights, probably more. When did you start training? Is it all within a year, or did you do training elsewhere before you got to your current gym? Because obviously you've been doing a lot of good things with them. I started training when I was 16. The immediate goal wasn't fighting. But so I gym hopped for a little bit. I trained with Rodrigo Jonquera. He's a black belt, I believe, still under Marcelo Garcia. I didn't have money, so I had to move to Fusion Fighting Arts. It was down the road from my house, and he helped me out a lot there. He's a black belt in Shotokan, Taekwondo. He knows a little bit of Jiu-Jitsu too. He's very skilled, very technical. Mark Daziki's his name. I got a job at the Backdoor Tavern, which is across the street, and started training there, where I took all of my first jiu-jitsu tournaments. I won first place in all. Then we took my first 2 MMA fights out of there. So I took my first 2 MMA fights out of Fusion Fighting Arts, and then had to take a year layoff just due to injuries and stuff like that.
Sure.
Then I moved my gym to Armezzani Jiu Jitsu here in Monaca. I've been here ever since. I fought K.O. Butler out of here and both Claiborne fights out of here. So I love my camp here. Every time I come to a fight with them, I feel more confident and healthier every time.
Well, that's wonderful. And it does go to show, particularly early in amateur MMA, that a lot of things have to line up as far as where you're working, where you're living, the cost of where you're training, what can you do? And so shout out to your first gym, because obviously you got 2 wins under them, but even more exciting where you are now, because a lot of times the fighter has to gel with the program, and it sounds like you're doing both jiu-jitsu, ground game, and the stand-up Muay Thai. So that's absolutely wonderful. Talk about how it is so far. You're undefeated. And what's it like? Did you expect that, or are you kind of surprised to be undefeated, or is that kind of the mindset you've always had? And how much do you put on that going into this title fight?
It's really humbling, man. Like, all the guys that I've fought are really good grapplers, really good strikers. So it's I never knew like I was going to get this far in the sport. I just wanted to originally fight just to, just practice my skill. And then I kind of graduated high school and I was like, man, I don't really like doing anything else. And I'm decent at this, so I want to do this. So I started doing this and I started fighting. But I love it. And it's humbling, man. I feel really confident. So.
Well, that's a great attitude to have. And also I do think that some of the best fighters are like you in the sense that you're not really going to know if it's for you until you take some fights, see how it goes, get a training camp around you, because the guys that show up to a gym that's never trained any type of martial arts before and thinks they're going to go pro rarely do, right? Because that's not the mindset. You have to have a learner's mindset, which you clearly do. You also mentioned graduated from high school. You're only 19 years old, so this is kind of the perfect timing.
I just turned 21 today.
Oh, you just turned 21?
Yeah, today.
All right, well, Tapology is wrong. Blame Tapology. No, I'm just kidding. I love Tapology. I get a lot of my information. But you're still young.
Yeah.
And obviously 21. You've been training since you were 16. Now, you mentioned that originally MMA was not your focus. What was your original focus back when you were 16 and just started training?
I wanted to be a part of MARSOC, which is like a Marine, like the I wouldn't know right now. I keep forgetting. I wanted to be a Marine or a Ranger, something of that line, something military, something I can go overseas and fight. But I just really wasn't cut out for any of that. I have a couple issues, so I really couldn't do that. And so I got out of high school, didn't want to go to college because I just didn't like school at all. So I dropped out of trade school and then just started training to fight. Got a job at FedEx, quit there. Got a job at an auto body place where I was a mechanic. I quit there. Really, this is all I do. I work at my gym full time. I clean, teach adult, kid, and our 4 to 6 year old class. My coach is great. He helps me out with whatever I need. So it's awesome. I live martial arts, so it's great.
So, the process of being a coach is really educational as a fighter. What do you think you're learning as far as coaching? And obviously you're coaching younger kids. What's it like to learn from you being a coach?
It's really cool because, when I'm showing stuff, I can kind of see where I used to be at skill-wise. Like, I could see myself in the kids. And the only thing I really get out of it, man, is just real scared because these kids, man, they're killers. And they're going to be replacing me in the future, and I know, and it's scary, man. It's coming. I've had a couple of them knock my mouth guard out before, so. But I love it. They always encourage me. Like today was my birthday. My students actually got me. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but Eaton Park cookies, and
sure,
they gave me some pictures and stuff like that. It was sweet. I loved it. But they're all really hard workers, so I get that from them. They motivate me to be better as a person. So.
Well, and obviously today's your birthday, so happy birthday to you. And it definitely is the life of a fighter to work, train, and then do a podcast interview all on your birthday, because that's kind of the life of a fighter, that you have to be fully committed.
About everything, man. Got to be professional.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great way to do it. What is your favorite skill to teach a new kid who's just learning?
Striking.
Okay.
Striking. I love punching. It doesn't seem like it if you've watched film on me, but striking the most. Super important. One-on-one for in a street fight, I believe jiu-jitsu is the most dominant. But standing up, if you're getting jumped per se and all that, and in a bad situation, boxing is really, really good and key to have that fluidity, that movement, that beautiful footwork. To really switch angles and be able to attack full attackers. So I really love boxing, to teach kids boxing. It's sweet. I used to have a park program where I taught kids that were less fortunate boxing. And then I got a job here, so I teach kids here all the time. It's sweet. Absolutely.
Well, and it's also important that as a trainer and a fighter, you're training and practicing more than what happens in the ring. Because as you pointed out, or in the cage, as you pointed out, that might not be what's happened so far in the fights, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. I think one of the things that people that are just a casual fan is they watch an MMA fight, they think, oh, that's all that person has, whether it be grappling or jiu-jitsu or stand-up, but they but a true martial artist, you use the word professional, a person who's conducting themselves to be well-rounded, doesn't show and doesn't need all of their weapons, or sometimes the fight dictates. The classic example would be if two really good strikers fight each other in MMA, sometimes it ends up to be a clinching or grappling fest. And if two really incredible grapplers face each other, like we just had recently with Damian Maia, right? He made it a boxing fight. He made it a kickboxing fight because he knew that was going to tire out his opponent, and he didn't want to grapple right away. He ended up winning by rear naked choke, so his end goal was grappling and submission, but he started with striking. And I think that sometimes surprises the fans. So great job on liking and training something, even if it's not showing up in your fight. Now, I don't always ask about nicknames, but you have a unique nickname. I found it online, and the nickname is the Croatian Crowbar. How did you get that nickname, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, my dad gave it to me.
Okay.
We're Croatian, so my grandmother, supposedly her family were gypsies, and she's from Croatia. If you look into the history of how the gypsies began and stuff, she's more Croatian, you know what I mean? But I'm pretty sure from what I've read is northwestern India. They had basically a group of warriors go fight. I forget who they were going to fight, but they ended up becoming they ended up settling in the regions of I forget, Serbia and Croatia, areas like that. And so that's what really became the gypsies and stuff like that. And so my grandmother was a gypsy and a Croatian. They're super hard workers, and they came over here, and my dad always wanted me to be super proud of our heritage and stuff. Mm-hmm. My grandmother came over in her mother's belly, so she was a first-generation immigrant, so they were always very hardworking. They worked on the farms and stuff. So my dad's always very proud of his heritage and stuff like that. So am I. And the one day we were sitting there, and he said, "You need a nickname." And I was like, "I think I do too." And he just, he was drinking at the bar, and I wasn't drinking, obviously, not 21 yet. He doesn't really condone that stuff, so. He was like, "How about we do the Croatian Crowbar?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love that." So we started it, and I've tried changing it since, but people just love the Croatian Crowbar. It stuck. So I'm happy it did too, because I like it too now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot of the background of nicknames that stick, is it tells you something. It's personal to you, obviously your family heritage, your dad likes it. And Crowbar is not, it's a great image, but Crowbar is not used a ton in nicknames as much as maybe the Hammer or Sledgehammer or something like that. So so it certainly kind of stands out. And I'm going to obviously throw some compliments not only to you and your heritage, but the greatest and current heavyweight champion of the UFC world, Stipe Miocic, and being a very proud Croatian. So one day maybe you'll join the ranks of being a Croatian champion, which could actually happen this Saturday, getting back to this Saturday before I launch into my love for Stipe. What's it like fighting for a belt? I ask this to everybody that's going into the belt. Some people really think it makes a difference. Some people don't. What's it like at least having the opportunity for 247? It's going to be maybe about 35, 40 minutes away from your home. What's that like, having that home crowd feel, fighting for 247 and fighting a belt? Like, what are your emotions going into this?
I'm super pumped, man. So the last fight I fought, I'm a younger guy. We talked about that. You had to be 21 to get in because it was in the casino. So this fight, I'm bringing an army with me to come see, me fight. I sold a whole lot of tickets, table seats, front row, everything, man. So they're going to be there loud and proud. It's a huge honor to fight for 247, man. What they're doing, people don't really realize, but they're giving us regional fighters in Pittsburgh in close to come down and fight. Pittsburgh, back in the day, we had Pinnacle, Gladiators. Trying to think if there's another show. I think there was another show. But really, we didn't have anything. And then for a while there, we were just doing Pinnacle once a year, I think. And we'd have some local shows, like King of the Cage would come through every once in a while and stuff like that. But there's really only that one show a year. Now we have these cards where I believe I think they've done 3 or 4 events this year. I think this is the third event. I don't want to be wrong.
This is going to be your third event. So April 6th was the first event. July 27th was the second event. Both of those events were headlined as a title fight for Kama the Death Star Worthy. He won the first ever pro title fight that was ever offered by 247 April 6th, defended it July 27th, and then obviously went to the UFC shortly thereafter and really put 247 not only being a regional promotion as far as what you're getting to, which we'll get to in a second, but also shows that it's also able to get pros to the next level or get pros to UFC. And then obviously this one is November 16th. So they're going to be right around 3, possibly 4, because they won't have their first year anniversary, and they definitely have another fight scheduled before April. So they'll have 4 in their first year, maybe 5. And get back to the fact that regional MMA is so crucial, it does not make sense. As much as Pittsburgh loves fighting, the Steelers and just the hardworking people, the mindset of Pittsburgh, it makes perfect sense to have an MMA organization in Pittsburgh and to have local fighters that now don't have to travel. In fact, speaking about fighters and where they are, they're bringing in 247, which I think is great. You rarely see this at the amateur level. 247 is bringing in your opponent, Cody Reese, who is ranked number 1 in 170 amateurs in North Carolina. He's 5-0, and to bring somebody in like that really elevates your game and elevates the image of 247, putting on what is probably the best amateur fight there is in regional MMA. You don't really get a ton of high-quality amateur MMA. It's typically a really good person, maybe up against somebody who's not quite as good, and the records are lopsided and all of that. And so it's really a big thing. And you are part of history because getting back to the belt and talking about what it means to be able to fight for a belt, this is the first amateur belt 247 has ever offered. And so the fight goes your way. You win Saturday. You're not only winning in front of all those people you sold tickets to, but you're actually always going to be in the record books for 247 as the first title fight for amateur and first title belt holder. So talk about that a little bit, the opportunity for the belt.
I'll also be the youngest champion if we're going to go.
There we go.
Amateur. So Kama, scoot over. I'm coming.
There it is. Well, I like that attitude. That's a great attitude. And, being in the fight business
I'll fight 7. He'll have the 55 belt in the UFC, and I'll have the 70. So we'll have brother belts in that. We're both
there. It is.
Boys. So he's a huge star.
Well, maybe you'll gain a lot of weight and fight Stipe someday. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Croatian versus Croatian. That's all I'm saying.
They always talk about having a Mexican fight a Mexican, but you've never seen a Croatian fight a Croatian.
No, I know. It
would be beautiful.
It would be legendary. Are you looking forward? Would you hang the belt up at home, or would you hang the belt up in your gym to give love back to your gym? Do you even care, or would it literally go under a bed somewhere? Do you think that way, or is that a Saturday night question?
So that's a Saturday night question, but I got to take it on tour first. You know what I mean? You got to show it off.
Of course. Of course.
Cody Reese is a huge name in the South, man, and I give him all the respect. He's ranked. You said he was ranked in 170 at 1, but what you missed is he's ranked 1 in lightweight. He's ranked 1 at 185. He's a champion at 185. He went down to Florida and took out one of the biggest names, Lucas Cortez, by decision, but that kid's tough as nails, man. If you look at him, he looks like a G.I. Joe. But he's super tough. And just to have a win, like a win under my belt, like that would be huge. That'd be like parading around town, like as a king. So, I think Cody's super tough. He's from watching his fight, he's super well-rounded, super tough. He's not going to give up. He presses the pace. He's a super good gas tank. But yeah, that belt, when I take that belt, it's going on a tour first, and I'm going to set it in my gym.
That's wonderful. It's also great to hear the respect that you're giving to Cody, because I think the more you respect your opponent, the more you train for them. Yeah. He's well-rounded. That I didn't realize. I looked at 170. I didn't realize that he was ranked in so many different weight classes, and obviously he's taken his show on the road before from North Carolina to Florida and now coming up. So respect to him for coming into enemy territory. What do you think it's like to fight somebody who you know is going to push you? Is that a great thing for you? Is that something that your coaches are all about as far as bringing out the best in Chase Boyde because you're fighting just another notch up as far as competition?
That gets me up in the morning, man. If I'm fighting a jump, I'm eating ice cream. I'm not coming to the gym and stuff like that, and, you know, which I've never had the opportunity to do. So my coaches always look for the toughest fight. We were offered a fight for another fighter that's kind of local. But I've not fought him before. I've competed against him before, and we just felt I would take that fight a little bit. You know, we knew the outcome of the fight. Not easily, it was going to be a fight, but we knew, like, we wanted a better look. And Cody certainly is that. He's a competitor, man. He did that combat jiu-jitsu. You know, he has a pro combat jiu-jitsu match under his belt. 5 fights. If you look at his record, man, most of the guys that he scheduled to fight, there was one guy on there who's in the UFC right now. I believe he got a contract on Dana White's Contender Series.
Wow.
So this kid's taking hard fights, man. And he said in his article, and I love this about him, man, because this gets me going. He wants to fight the best people, and I took that as a compliment to myself.
Sure.
And, but you know that made me hyped because I just feel we're gonna get in there and we're gonna make beautiful music for the people of Pittsburgh.
What a great attitude to have. You know, confident, but also humble and focused on the fact that every fight gives you an opportunity to better yourself. And I think we've seen that at the highest level, where when a fighter comes in against somebody that has maybe a bad record in the UFC or not as well ranked, it's pretty obvious that they don't train as well. And then you see the upsets, and almost every time a big upset happens, it's because the person knew that they had a chance that nobody else thought they did. And that's a big thing here, is that you're putting yourself in a situation where you could have come into a fight thinking, this is mine, but that's not really a great mindset to have, because you might underestimate, you might undertrain. Here you are coming in, all the respect to Cody, wanting to take, and I think this is respectful to say, I'm sure he's trying to do the same thing to you, is you want to take the reputation. You beat, like you mentioned, you beat Cody, you take the reputation of somebody that's gone to Florida and won, and that is well known in North Carolina, the best fighter amateur-wise to come out of North Carolina in years. And so that's kind of how you build on your own. And what we'd love to do here at MMA FanCast is we'd love to have you on after your fight. Now, that's a Saturday night, Sunday thing, or Monday. But we'd love to have you on afterwards. We do that a lot on this show. We call it After Action Review, and we kind of talk about how the fight went and whether it's round by round or exchange by exchange, and, you know, to kind of get your feedback. So we'd love to have you back on. What are your thank yous and your shout outs? I don't know if you have sponsors, if you have people you want to thank coming in, because here we are fight week. So who's on your mind as far as gratitude goes for you?
I got to thank my family, my mom, my dad, obviously, my grandparents on both sides, all my friends and family, everybody in the gym that comes in here and struggles with me and, you know, eats with me, you know, my coach, Louis Armezzani, Kat, his wife, and his daughters, Ava, Gracie, and Fiona, for sharing him with me. He's such a wonderful man. Shout out to Grind, Podium Health Solutions, and man, what's the other one? I'm forgetting right now. I'm sorry. But, you know, a bunch of great people surrounded me for this fight. Anthony Darnell, too, my striking coach, just really helped me to feel confident. Eric McPhillamine and Colby Potts, Devin Tiller, they helped me with my weight cut. So they told me to be smarter and stuff like that about what I'm eating. So I had a good diet for the fight. I wasn't bad dieting. I used to have that game bred mindset, just eat what you want and just train hard. But now I eat healthy and train hard. So everybody's helped me this, you know, for this upcoming fight. It's a group effort. It's a one-on-one sport, but outside of it, it's a team effort. So
it absolutely is a team. And from what I've heard in this interview, you're going to represent your team well, not only in your technique as far as fighting, but who you are as a person. And I think, you know, you'll show gratitude to all your coaches, the whole list of family you thanked, and all your sparring partners and just everybody that support you, encourage you by how you carry yourself.
Yeah, shout out to Cody Reese and his team too. You know, he's a hard worker, man, and his nickname I think is Beast. Cody the Reese Beast.
Beast. Oh, because Beast Reese. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, 5-0, 4 finishes, man, and like I said, that Lucas Cortez kid was a stud. So, you know, I'm honored to fight him. Thank you for accepting the fight. Not trying to belittle you in any way.
Sure.
I'm just saying thank you for the fight, man. It was hard to get a fight, and you know, he like for sure is a savage, and I'm really, really honored to share the cage with him. Win, lose, or draw, we'll have to have a beer after.
That's a great attitude to have. And you know what it comes down to, and I think this is something that listeners don't always see, is amateurs, when you are fighting well, like you are, 4-0, undefeated, people can just say no. I mean, one of the things that's so hard in amateur is building yourself up to the point where you and your coaches and everybody are on point to go pro. And when you're still trying to develop yourself as an amateur or even as a pro, it's so easy for people to just say no. And that's tough. That's one of the things that at sort of a higher level, people are on contract and can't say no. But there's been a lot of fighters that have to be very opportunistic in the fights they take, which is what you're doing. You're getting great opportunity in front of hometown crowd. But also, as you point out, it's a big deal when 2 undefeated amateurs are willing to put that record on the line against each other, because you could find other people like you were offered, and I'm sure he could find other people that don't have an undefeated record and already kind of are in the loss category. And I always like to give a shout out to Ryan Milton, the owner of 247, and also Jim, who did a lot of the matchmaking. I'm not sure. I'm guessing you did a lot with Jim, probably. Jim Mooney. Yeah. So shout out to Jim Mooney and Ryan Milton for putting on the best, not only at the pro level, and we've seen what they've done at the pro level. They have 3 incredible pro fights. You are also the only amateur to fight after intermission. So they have it amateurs, intermission, then you, because you are considered the
main event,
the main event of the prelims, and then the three pro fights. But for anybody who's listening, if you can come out, still buy tickets. We want to pack the house for Chase and for everybody. It's going to be an incredible event, absolutely the best regional event this year, and that'll be at Princescape Arena, November 16th. You can still get tickets. Go to 247fightingchampionships.com. And also, I think this is going to be really big, particularly because you're fighting a guy from North Carolina, and there's also Yuri, who's flying up from Florida. I hope that a lot of people get it on stream, because there's going to be a pay-per-view stream as well. Hopefully who you fight and what you're doing is out there, and people take notice of Chase, the Croatian Crowbar Boyde, and you've heard him here on MMA FanCast. Thanks so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to say?
I know I have a lot of hometown people and stuff. Please don't boo Cody, man. He came up, he took the fight. We're both men stepping into the cage. You know, we're doing a lot more than other people would. There's a list of names of cowards who wouldn't fight me, who we wanted. Big names up here. And he came from the South, so don't boo him. Cheer him on, man. He's a warrior. We're going to get it on November 16th.
Thanks so much for coming on the show, Chase, and best wishes November 16th to you. The Croatian Crowbar here on MMA FanCast.